That's how it started. And then it was just a matter of bringing the product to the country and being loud and proud and unafraid to say what I needed to say. That's really it. And I just led with the same heart and the same energy that I do with anything else that I feel strongly about. Why aren't we doing this? Why isn't anyone servicing it? I'm here to say it. Listen to what I've got to say. And that's honestly it.
Building a business is tough and doing it alone even tougher. Welcome to She Talks, your go-to podcast for raw, relatable and ridiculously useful business advice. I'm Lisa Jones and I'm both a mum and a serial entrepreneur, and I'm here to help share real stories and proven strategies to help you scale up your business. Let's do this together. Hey lovely, Lisa here, and before we dive into today's episode of She Talks, I have got a little favour to ask you. If this podcast has ever made you feel a little bit more confident, a little bit more inspired, or a little less alone in this wild ride of running your own business, then I would love you to leave us a review on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you're listening. I know it sounds like a small thing, but it really helps get She Talks into the ears of more incredible women just like you, and it helps us keep bringing you the good stuff. And if there's an episode that made you go, oh my God, every woman in business needs to hear this, please share it with someone you love. Text it to your business bestie, add it to your stories, or drop the link in a group chat. However you do it, we are so grateful. All right, that's it from me. Let's jump in. What happens when a self-made swimwear queen walks away from a celebrity-loved brand to build something even bigger? In this episode today, I sit down with Rebecca Klodinsky, the powerhouse behind the Prestwick Place, a jewellery label known for lab-grown diamonds and unapologetically luxurious design. You might know her as an AFL WAG, but Beck is so much more than the headline. She bootstrapped her first brand with just $2,000, caught the wave of early Instagram success, and now runs a multi-million-dollar empire, all on her own terms. From walking away from a booming swimwear business to navigating motherhood, anxiety, and entrepreneurship with brutal honesty, Beck drops truth bombs that every founder needs to hear. No filters, no fluff, just what it actually takes to juggle a business, a relationship, kids, and your sanity. This one, guys, it's raw, real, and packed with permission to do business your way. I hope you love it as much as I did recording it. So Beck, women start businesses for all kinds of reasons. More freedom, the chance to be creative, maybe solving a problem they've come across themselves, or potentially for money. So I want to know, let's talk about your current brand, the Prestwick Place. Why did you start it?
There was just a hole in the market. Honestly, the business started because I didn't want Lockie to be ripped off, my now husband, when he went into the process of buying a ring. I've been down that path. I've bought expensive jewelry before, and I didn't want to put him in a position where he was overextending himself and being taken advantage of. The brand started because there was no one in the country facilitating the market, and here I am.
I love that so much, and our listeners are going to relate to this. They're going to love this whole conversation. I'm absolutely certain of it. But I think there's this incredible talent for female founders who identify something they want themselves, and then they're like, fuck it, I can't find it in the world. I'm going to go and create it. And that to me is the most genius thing. But let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk about your first e-com baby. It was a completely different space. It was swimwear. You started with just $2,000, no fashion experience, no connections in e-com. Tell us about the early days and what you learnt.
Well, it was the same concept. So there was a hole in the market for that, where at uni, this is the early 2000s, Instagram had just started and you had your high fashion brands or you had Kmart and Target. There was really nothing in between, and we were still lay-buying at this point. So there was no afterpay. There was really no credit cards for uni students. And I just thought, if there's a need for it for me to want it, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other girls that want it. So it started the same way. I caught the Instagram wave. We're still using the Valencia filter and hashtags and all of that. And it was shocking to see bikinis on sexy bodies, and you open your phone first thing in the morning. So Instagram really worked, and that is how it took me to where I am now.
And Instagram, like back then, was a different beast than it is today. It's so much harder to launch a brand now on Instagram. So IIXIST gained popularity amongst celebrities like Kylie Jenner and Hailey Bieber. How did those endorsements come about? And like what kind of impact did they have on your brand growing?
Well, they weren't endorsements. It was all organic Instagram social media. Like I remember getting a screenshot from Kim Kardashian's assistant from Kim's phone. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is a screenshot from a Kardashian Jenner. And they would come through organically. Hey, Kylie's seen your page. Chris has seen your page. Have you got this in her size? Send it out. This is the address. And that's just how it worked. They were never endorsements or collabs or anything like that. And I didn't really do any of that in the beginning at all.
And did it blow up your brand? Like what was the results on your social following and also sales?
Through the roof. Kylie Jenner, the one that she wore was constantly on pre-order, back order. So it was just something that we were keeping in stock. We've still got it in stock. It cemented the brand.
And we know it became a cult following, clearly. But at a point in the journey with the swimwear brand, you chose to walk away. Yeah. And I'm like, the entrepreneur in me is really interested in this part of your story. I mean, we could talk about celebrities and Instagram till the cows come home, and our listeners are maybe interested in that. But I'm really interested in why you walked away from that. Like, what made you realize it was time to close that chapter in your life? And even though the brand was still growing and working on paper, like, I'd love to know why.
You can't ride two horses at once. And I've suddenly got two of these businesses that I'm at the helm of that are money makers. One means so much to me that has IIXIST, that I've started me. It's paying the mortgages. It's gotten me to where I am. I've got all these connections because of it. So there's an emotional connection there. And then I've got Prestwick Place, which is 5 years old now, that is growing exponentially. That's a moneymaker. That's paying mortgages. It's doing the same thing. But which way do I go? And I think I sort of outgrew IIXIST. I outgrew the business. My husband is a business broker now, and he was trying to sell it for me. These are the great offers. Let's do this. Why don't you exit like this? And I just didn't want a bar of that. I wanted to retain the company. That was my baby. And it was quite emotional. I remember I wrote a letter to the business itself saying, thank you so much for everything that you've given me. I've retained everything and I still have it there. And it still does make sales, but it's just closed. It's closed. And I had to come to terms with that, because you can't ride two horses at once. I need to grow Prestwick Place. And in order to do that, I have to throw myself in. So
I actually completely agree with that, by the way. About 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to invest in one of my clients' businesses. And I was like, I'm an e-commerce expert. I've built and scaled brands. I coach in this now. I talk on stages all over the world. Like, I talk about all the things a business needs to do in order to be able to grow its sales. I'm going to invest and buy half this brand and I'm going to build it on the side. Yeah. And 12 months after I bought it, sure, I'd done some things in the brand, but I had to sell it again with almost no revenue growth in the brand, because I completely agree with you. It is almost impossible to ride two horses at once. Your legs get stretched. You're literally hanging in the air.
If you've got two money makers, which one's going to win the Melbourne Cup? It's got to be one. So you've got to pick.
Got to be all in. And I know for our listeners, this is actually a bit of a contentious topic. And I'm going to ask you, Beck, for your thoughts on this too, by the way. But I know you're a mum. I'm a mum. I've got 5 stepchildren and a 14-year-old. I've got 3 dogs, a husband, and I've got a very big company with 46 staff. And so many of our listeners are in similar situations with kids, and, they might have a job, a part-time job, a full-time job even, as well as a company they're trying to build. And I think it's really difficult for women to navigate all of it. It's like being the provider and the nurturer at the same time, and somebody dies in the middle, and it's usually us.
It's me. I'm rocking in the corner at 5 o'clock, like crawling to the finish line.
1,000%. I have to put myself to bed by 7 p.m. most nights.
Honestly,
a chronic 4 or 5 a.m. waker. So by the time 7 rolls around, I'm literally, my tongue is.
We are twins. Yeah.
Doesn't work anymore. What have you discovered in this space? Like, apart from knowing that you can't ride two horses at once, like, tell us how you navigate all the things.
I think it's just getting very clear with who you are and what you want. I didn't want to sell Exist because I'm not interested in the check that comes with that. I want to retain something that I built that I'm proud of, and I want to hold on to that, and I want to keep space for that in my life. And I think just being very clear on who you are, what you want, and how you're going to drive it. Like, do I want Prestwick Place to be global and popping up in every shopping center? Actually, I don't. I want the integrity of the company to remain what it is today. And I think it's the journey, not the end goal.
And what have you learnt about like the mum life, balancing it with business? Like you must have.
That's a trick. That's a lie. That doesn't exist. Whoever said that is very, I don't know. They didn't have kids, I don't think.
Actually, can I just throw in here? Last week I interviewed on the podcast another amazing, incredible woman called Danny from IIXIIST Swimwear. I don't know if you've come across Danny. She's such a beautiful human. And she shared with us on the potty that she's actually taken the word balance and like got rid of it. She's like, I've just ejected it from my world. Like who said we should have balance? Because right now I'm okay with not having balance.
Yeah,
and
I'm
really inspired by that.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that it can be balanced. And I said to Lockie the other day, my husband, I think I just need to let the idea of everything being like organized and nice and beautiful, let it go, because it's not going to be like that when I've got a 1-year-old, a 7-year-old, a business and staff coming and going. It's literally not that.
So letting go of a perfect home, letting go of the idea of everything being on time and perfect, right?
Because it's disappointing me and it's upsetting me. And I'm like, why the fuck is this pillow out of line? Like, why is the floor not mopped? Why, just let it go.
So listeners, Beck and I had a quick 5 or 10 minute chat before we pressed record on this, and we realized we have lots of things in common, like serial entrepreneurship, blending families and having young kids, and being through some tough and volatile things in relationships. And I guess I'm really interested to ask you, Beck, around like, what does it look like for you in your life every day with raising 2 little kids from 2 different relationships, and how do you make life work?
My husband is very good, and I think I'm very focused on what I need to do and what I want to do. I do beat myself up about that. I won't dress it up. It's very difficult. I probably cry 4 days out of the 7 of a week. I don't know. It's very overwhelming, but I'm clear in my needs and wants. I have to get the kids ready. I have to be there for bedtime. I want to be there for naps. I need to pick them up from school. I have to send these emails. I have to organize this. I have to make sure things are going well with my staff. That's all that matters. That's my main focus. I have to drink water. I have to have a shower. But everything else is parked. I don't really have a social life. It's a luxury if I get to the shops. So just something's got to give. It's just those 2 things, my family and my work.
I love that.
It's okay. I'm okay with that. I can online shop.
Yes, online shopping is like the busy female's savior, I think. Amazon Prime, like I'm pretty sure they're at my front door most days.
Same, but I fantasize sometimes about just pushing a trolley down the aisle in the shopping centre or getting petrol with like just those little things. Don't you?
Well, actually, mine is absolutely certain. I ordered that on Amazon Prime, and then I go back and have a look at my orders because it hasn't arrived, and I realized I got halfway through the checkout and forgot to hit buy. That's how busy I get.
Or I forget ordering something and I'm like, oh, I did do that. I love last week's me.
I want to ask then, like, something really big in my world right now is neurodiversity, and it's not necessarily a topic that I think is talked about super much. I don't even know if I'm in any way identify as a neurodiverse person. I think most of my family think I have ADHD. I've been tested.
I think I do.
But I'm interested because I feel like there's some kind of topic for really busy business women where we have to have some element of, I don't know what it is. Like it's a secret magic sauce. I know that to be true. But somebody I know who's quite specialized in this yesterday said, I'm pretty sure, Lisa, you have both autism and ADHD. And I don't know. I certainly have never been diagnosed with them, and I have checked. But I wonder, like, how does that sit for you?
Well, it's so weird that you actually say that, because the other day we were talking about ADD again with my husband, who is my social world. And the topic came up and he said, I think you probably have ADD. And I said, I thought that when I first started IIXIST, I thought I had ADD. It's not something that I would even I don't need a label on me. I know that I'm alpha type A, very hyper focused. And that's probably my superpower. It might be interesting to know if I am diagnosed with ADD. And then I was talking with one of my content girls yesterday, and she's like, everybody's something. There's all the A's, like ADHD, ADD, autistic. Someone's got anorexia. I don't know. It's all the A's. They're all trending. Arthritis. I don't know.
Asthma.
Yes. I don't think I'd publicly announce that I was diagnosed with something just because I don't need that. Wouldn't wear it as a badge of honor, but it would be interesting because, you know, that hyper focus, that A-type kind of personality, probably we are.
I'm actually wondering though, whether maybe it's not an A thing at all. It's just a type A personality, because that's also, I've always been a type A personality where I just, even in high school, if there was like two sides of a football field and they're like, right, somebody make a leader over there and organize your people, I'm like, hands up in the air, come talk to me. Let's just get this shit sorted. That's actually always been me. And I think maybe that's perhaps sometimes misdiagnosed as ADHD, and maybe we are just type A high performers. I'm going to go with that.
Maybe it's just alien because we're women too.
And we're trying to be providers and nurturers. Maybe that's also
we're providing and we're breastfeeding, and we're working and we're breastfeeding.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, very complicated. Now, I want to ask, because listeners, you may not be able to see this, but I am staring at Beck's hands on the podcast screen right now. And in particular, her rings are like diabolically beautiful. I'm pretty sure I'm going to stalk your Instagram feed later to find out when I'm going to buy my first Prestwick Place piece.
Love that.
Let's talk about your current brand for a minute. I mean, we've already talked earlier about the fact that you guys came up with the concept of the business because you were solving your own problem about how ridiculously expensive real diamond engagement rings can be. And with a 50% divorce rate, I don't know if it's around the whole world, but it certainly is in Australia. I have a very expensive set of rings sitting in a drawer that I once took to a secondhand jewellery shop and said, can you sell these for me? And they said, sure, for like $3 or $4 grand. And I'm like, well, that's not the 25 I paid for them. So I'm just going to leave them sitting in a drawer, and they're still in the drawer. So I know for a lot of women, this is genuinely really a problem. And second marriage round, as I already shared with you off potty, I'm wearing synthetic diamonds because I'm like, why would we spend all that money second time round? I really love my bling right now. And I want to know everything about your current brand. Like, how did clearly you had a concept. Tell us how you solved it in terms of finding someone to make them for you. And then how did it work with just getting it out there and starting to get your first few clients?
Well, lab diamonds are diamonds. So there's no difference between the two. And I just want to knock that stigma on the head. There's literally no difference between the two. They're certified by the same people. They're same chemical composition. They're the exact same thing. How it started was through connections with IIXIIST in America. That's how it started. And then it was just a matter of bringing the product to the country and being loud and proud and unafraid to say what I needed to say. That's really it. And I just led with the same heart and the same energy that I do with anything else that I feel strongly about. Why aren't we doing this? Why isn't anyone servicing it? I'm here to say it. Listen to what I've got to say. And that's honestly it.
So I'm going to throw it out there that there's another element to this. There's one thing to recognize that there's a niche in the world. Yep. There's another thing to say, well, I could manufacture it here. But I feel like there's a sense of Sherlock Holmes about it. It's like the never, ever give up. And the type A personalities and, my experience, even way back in the day with my Eco Originals nappy brand, I spent 2.5 years in R&D, and everywhere I went, everyone was like, no, that can't be done. And I'm like, I don't believe you. I just haven't found the right person who says, yes, it can be done yet. And I think that is a really inherent skill in female founders that build really big brands, because they're just like, no, I'm not taking no for an answer today. I'm just going to keep going until someone says yes. Has that played a part in your journey, even with both your brands?
It's never a point where I'm frustrated and trying to bang through a door like that sounds. I've never had that experience, but I am a big believer in the universe. So I never really fret. And it's going to sound woo-woo, but in the beginning, I was needing a jeweler. I needed someone in the team to be my jeweler or help me with the jewelry making process. And I was like, I don't know how the fuck to do this. And I was in hospital for endometriosis. And one of the nurses that was leaning over me at the time had a really nice necklace on. I asked her about that. She told me where to go. And then that person ended up joining my team and was one of my original jewelers. And I was just there like, universe, help me. And here's the necklace. And it's always happened like that for me. And I know not everyone can understand or will believe or subscribe to that, but I'm just a big like let go and let the universe deliver kind of person. And I know what I want to do. So I'll do my end and it will do its job.
Oh my God, Beck, I couldn't agree with you more. I also have a very secret passion for woo-woo. And
Yes.
I feel like it's like
Yeah, woo-woo.
yeah, I feel like as a mainstream businesswoman, I don't really talk about it that much because I don't want to be mistaken for,
The
a
hippie
mindset
girl that
or
lives on the
yeah.
Gold Coast.
Well,
Yeah.
I lived in Byron for 8 years and I did all the hippie shit. And so I really do
But there's a
genuinely.
lot to be said with that, connecting with the earth and connecting with our energy and connecting with all of that. I think has a big role to play in how we move forward in life and how we face challenges and how we see opportunities differently.
I completely agree with that too. In fact, I actually go as far as to say one of the millions of things I learned in that, say 10-year period of my life where I was trying to escape from a DV marriage. I was living in Byron. I had to go on this huge personal journey as to how the fuck I ended up there.
Yeah.
And one of the really great tools that I still use every single day is like just holding my belly, lying still on a bed in some quiet and asking my gut intuition, like, what should I do now? Like, what's the next right move for me? And then being completely still and silent until my brain processes a lot of different things and touches it a little bit like, when you've got a sore tooth and your tongue keeps poking it from different angles. This is one of my genius zones is I'm like, I come at things from every angle until I'm like, yeah, that's it. But synchronicity and attracting the right people at the right moments, I feel like that comes because I have quiet moments where I feel into it. And I'm tapped into the idea that there is
100% agree, because the output, the outlet, the outcome that we would get would be 100% different to the output, the outlet, the outcome that a suit would get. If someone with a suit mentality applied their thinking to the businesses that we have grown, the outcome would be different. The consumers would be different. The journey would be totally different.
Can I just say then Beck and Lisa should rule the world because we have all these suits and orange Cheeto puffs in power that actually wouldn't have the faintest about getting into their own bodies and listening to intuition.
Well, you know as well as I do, deal with lawyers, deal with a barrister, deal with the legal system, and then come back to me and tell me that those are the type of people that should rule the world, because I'm on the farm. I'm gone.
Right. And so let's work out why that is then, because our listeners are probably trying to keep up with how fast you and I talk at the same time. Apologies in advance, listeners. This is what happens when you get to type A personality.
But pay attention because you'll get somewhere with it.
It'll all be gold. I have a really good theory as to why this is true, Beck. I have had it for various periods of my life, literally an invisible line on my neck. So what happens for women, and actually, let's talk about what happens for men first. Men pretty much make all the decision-making in their worlds and the work that they do in their jobs or their businesses every day above the shoulders. It's just in their head. It's all head-related decisions and thinking. Now, a woman's superpower and why we should rule the world is we have the ability to use our head and our heart and our gut intuition and, if we're really going to be woo-woo, our sex as well. Like we have multiple chakras in our body. And if we can open up between our head and our body as a sense of flow, then fucking anything in the world is possible. And there have literally been so many meditations in my life where I've lay on the bed and gone, okay, line across my shoulders and neck here. You got to fuck off for a while because I need to open up all my ability to think from all of my body and my head, because that is our superpower, is both combined. When we make decisions and we think about business and we come up with new business ideas from that place. In fact, I'm a bit famous, Beck, for like coming up with most of my amazing business ideas when I'm having massages, because that's how I align myself on the table, literally. I wake up and go,
I do that too. And then I'm like, fuck, stop touching me. I need to action something.
Don't let me lose that idea. Quick, hand me my phone for a voice note.
No, I just get so in my head. I'm like, just stop touching me now.
Yes, I love all of that. And I'm so glad, girl, that you've got that same kind of sense of trusting your intuition. Have there been any like aha moments that you want to share that have come from aligning all of you and coming up with a bit of woo-woo?
No, I can't think of one off the top of the head. It's just those moments where you get the feeling that everything is in alignment, that everything is okay. And I don't think everyone can understand that. If you are listening and you do get to experience, if just once in your life, that overwhelming feeling that you've done the right thing and everything is working, then follow that, because it's the best feeling in the world, just to be like, everything's okay. And I can't describe it. I can't tell you how it comes, but it just comes.
So let's talk about the flip side of that then. And by the way, we're so off script for this potty, but I
was
feel
thinking that, but I just keep on going. I love it.
it's so good. Let's talk about another A in the room, which is anxiety. So for me, the flip side of being this like high functioning, incredibly clever kind of human is I have like significant
debilitating
anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah, same. Debilitating.
Fuck, dude, we're like two halves of a whole.
I know, we really are. It's like it buckles me, makes me sick, seemingly impossible to move forward. I don't like CBD gummies. I feel like they make me worse.
Right.
But yeah, the anxiety side of things is not great.
I haven't tried CBD gummies. It's definitely microdosing of CBD oil is something that's on my agenda to try and think about in the future. But like a mini A-type personalities, my agenda of things to do is pretty fucking long and significant. I haven't got to it yet. But I do. My listeners all know I'm honest about the fact that I take an anti-anxiety tablet every night, and anxiety can be so crippling. And I know our listeners are probably furiously nodding their heads to a lot of what we're talking about today. And it's been a while since we've had a chat this, I suppose, juicy, from the sense that many of our SheCom community will really relate to this conversation. And I want to talk about, I love talking about light, but I also talk about shadow. And that makes me perhaps a bit unique. I'm very frank about domestic violence and the impact that had on my anxiety. I've lost 50 kilos in the last 6 years. That's also had a huge impact on my anxiety, and had periods where I felt great, and then I put on a weight, and then I'd feel anxious about that, and anxious about fucking everything.
Yeah.
Right now in the world, as an empath, what's happening with the politics and the Trumpisms and tariffs and stuff, that stuff.
I'm putting my crystals on. I'm wearing crystals to protect myself from all of the energy. Honestly, I know, I feel it. And then the moon changes, and it's a full moon, and then, oh my God.
I don't sleep for like 4 nights over a full moon. I'm crippled with anxiety.
It was so bad with the last moon.
Yep.
Hey, lovely. If you're feeling stuck trying to scale your e-commerce business, I want you to know you're not alone. So many women come to us feeling overwhelmed, unsure of what to focus on next. And that's why we created SheCom Academy, a world-leading program designed to give you the roadmap, coaching, and the community to grow with confidence. And here's the best part. We're so confident in what we teach that we guarantee you'll triple your investment within 12 months, or we'll keep working with you for free until you do. No risk or reward. If you're ready to ditch the overwhelm and start scaling with a clear plan, head to shecom.co. I'd love to see you inside.
So let's break this down for just a minute to our beautiful listeners right now. For those of you that also relate to anxiety, whether you're type A or an introvert or all the other versions of incredibly wonderful females out there, anxiety is a general rule. Like here's my take on anxiety. We have a lot of depression in the world, and depression is usually very feeling down about things that have happened in the past is how I describe depression. My husband suffers from depression. It's debilitating at times for him, but he is a 37-and-a-half-year veteran and of military conflict zones and all kinds of really horrible stuff. So it's completely understandable that, depression is debilitating for him. That isn't my cross to bear. Mine is anxiety, which is worrying about the future.
Yeah.
And so for me as an empath, which is obviously why both of us have ended up in narcissistic relationships, and the listeners right now, if you don't know this already, a lot of women who are the kind, the ones that will burst into tears in an ad about pensioners, which is me, we often get really attracted to narcissists because they are obsessed with how kind and wondrous we are, and then they need to pull us down. Yes. But equally, we also can be chronically debilitated by anxiety because the world feels volatile and overwhelming and intense, and that just exacerbates. And the conversation that Beck and I just had about the full moon, to be really clear about that, if you're new to a bit of woo-woo about a full moon, if you've ever looked at a tide on a full moon, often king tides happen at a full moon because the moon is so powerful. It tugs the water of the world into different ways. And
it's a gravitational shift. So it's not woo-woo, it's energy. The gravity of the pull from the moon changes the Earth's ocean. So if you're listening and you don't think that the pull from the moon is not going to affect our bodies, which are 80% water, then I think you need to rethink your thoughts about that, because it's all energy and it's being pulled. So yes, the king tides.
So totally. I know paramedics and nurses in emergency departments and firemen they roster more emergency workers on at full moons because they know that humans are going to misbehave worse over a full moon. Like it's actually a thing. Now let's talk about it flipped over to us for a minute. Our customers in e-commerce are less likely to purchase on a full moon. So they also will be anxious and will probably not be hitting spend as much. And so I always promote, don't do big promotions over a full moon. Wait until a few days after it releases when people feel some sense of, it's gone again. I'm going to go and buy those new coats I'm ogling online right now. Like it's really important to recognize humans' behavior as it is, to recognize those around us might misbehave around a full moon. So if you've got a team, a random mother-in-law, like kids, everybody will misbehave around a full moon. So I have to practice so much more Zen, both to manage my own anxiety, but also to keep my family steered in the right direction. And my team, if somebody does something random where I'm like, oh, that was a bit nasty what she said. Oh, it's a full moon. I'm just going to pretend that didn't happen. Yeah. Have you also noticed that in those around you?
Totally. And I'm always bringing it to the attention of my kids. Like if I drive to school and it's a full moon, I'll say to my son, we've got to leave early because it's a full moon and people drive a little bit differently. And then he'll observe the traffic and say, oh, the full moon traffic or something. So I'm trying to instill that into him now to understand that, yes, humans react, act a little bit different around that energetic shift that happens every full moon, new moon.
It's totally true. So then let's talk anxiety for a minute. Like what tools or what advice could you give to our listeners? A couple of things that maybe make sense for you around just managing this intensity of feeling that happens for really.
It's just so heavy though. I'm a work in progress. It's so heavy. And when I get that feeling in my stomach, it amplifies because I'm like, fuck, it's coming. And then I know it's coming and then it's coming and then it's here. And just having that anxiety, I would love to help someone, but I just don't even have the words. My husband helps me through it. It's worse when I can't sleep. So I totally feel anyone that's not sleeping through anxiety, just that cycle. I'm trying to sleep. I can't sleep. I'm never going to sleep. I can't sleep. Shocking. But it passes. And I think just holding on to the present moment is the best thing for me, breathing through it and not doing much, just doing stuff that needs to be done, maybe tidying. I've come to accept that doing a little bit, even if it's a menial task, is better than doing nothing. I can't expect myself to dive into 6 hours work of coding or website work or something when I'm feeling anxious. It's not going to work. But if I can tidy my office, at least the workspace is clean.
I feel that's I do that too. And I feel like it's distraction. So because I get anxious about being anxious, it makes me worse. So I have to actually say I need to go and watch a movie, something I'm going to throw myself into, or I need to have some tasks to achieve so that I try and turn my anxiety off for a bit. Two other things I want to share with listeners that I'm probably a generation older than you, Beck. I'm on my way to 50 and I've learned a few things in managing this for a very long time. Yeah. I use sleep gummies at night. So I buy them on iHerb. Actually, I'm using Kendall Jenner's brand. I think it's Kendall Jenner. It's called Lemme, Lemme.
Melatonin.
Yeah, melatonin and magnesium in a gummy. And my daughter Maya and my husband and I most nights will have a couple of gummies before we go to bed. And it definitely helps us to drop off. We've all observed it I don't use pharmaceuticals to sleep because they make me feel disgusting the next day, but these have no side effects. So we're really into
I love melatonin, but then I was listening to a podcast how excessive melatonin intake, especially for women, suppresses estrogen production and all of the good stuff for us. And I'm like, I've got melatonin too.
So you're fucked if you do and you're fucked if you don't. I just don't take them every night. I try and sparingly use them. But the other one that has been really profound for me, and this is now one of my everyday tools, is I walk on the beach at dawn every day. Fortunately, I live in a place where we're, 4 minutes from the beach. But for those of you that are not, it could just be a beautiful park somewhere, like a bit of land. And I do it at dawn every day because what I observe about watching the sun rise, even if it's a cloudy day, but better if it's sunny, is this sense of infinity. So I have a beautiful necklace I'm wearing at the moment that I bought from a brand in Bali called Ananda Soul. And I happened to randomly pick out infinity as a necklace meaning. And for me, this is really relevant at the moment because what I observe as a business owner and anxiety is a sense of lack. There's not enough money in the world. There's not enough sales in the world. My staff aren't doing enough. I'm not doing enough. There's just not enough. And when I walk on the ocean at dawn, I look up and I think, oh, you're a fucking idiot. There's an
It's enough.
infinity amount of stuff out there. There is more than enough money in the world for anything you need. And it's like an expansive strategy. And I can't do that. Even if I'm having anxiety on the beach, it still shifts that energy for me every morning. And that has been like literally a game changer for me.
Just removing yourself from your environment, I think is what it sounds like. You're taking yourself out and putting yourself in nature, in a natural element that you've got no control over.
And just looking bigger, thinking bigger. I feel like anxiety is thinking small. So yes to all of that. But let's go back to your beautiful brand for a minute and let's talk a bit more practical around the growth. So I know you've done some incredible stuff. You guys turn over more than 3 million a year. You've got 8 staff. You have a shop on the Gold Coast, and a lot of what you're doing is driving traffic through Instagram. So when I read that in the pre-podcast script, I was like, oh, that sounds like a bit of a line because I don't know, Insta these days doesn't necessarily drive much in terms of sales. And then I went onto your Insta and then I instantly wanted a fucking ring. So I understand. Tell us about that.
Yeah. The brand itself, I am proud of it because my husband brings it to my attention, is an Instagram brand. And in today's day and age, I think it's very, very difficult for anyone to grasp that concept or even build a new brand from scratch today. It's really, really, really hard because there's Instagram brands for everything, but we are solely Instagram. I give my everything to the page, very transparent from day one, and it transfers through to my audience, which transfers it to a sale. And that's just our business model. And I think it's just applying myself in that way. Honestly, it's not easy. It's so fucking hard. But
what I love about your Instagram, there's a couple of things I want to point out. One is, and I watched a reel, you even talked about this. It isn't perfect. It's you modeling your rings. It's not like perfection curated, which, let's be honest, is kind of where Instagram is. TikTok's more the behind the scenes, and Instagram, many brands keep it as like perfect curated. And I'm not saying your Instagram's bad. It's beautiful. Clearly, I want a fucking ring. But like it isn't perfect. And what have you learnt in this space?
Well, it started just before COVID happened, and I was getting frustrated with seeing so many jewelry brands with all of these perfectly curated Instagram grids and then buying a piece of jewelry and having it delivered and it's a piece of shit. And I wasn't prepared to do that. Enough's enough. Like, too many influencers, too many brands, too much shit online. So we have to cut through and be really real. And that's our point of difference. It's not curated, but it transfers well because people need that human element. There's so much AI. There's so many like filtering, photoshopping, all of this shit online. And when it comes down to it, we don't want that. We don't need that, especially in the jewelry industry. And that's what was missing. So we did it like that. We still do it like that. And it's not going to change.
Then tell me a little bit about, I know you're obviously married to a famous AFL football player, and I get the sense, though, that you guys are quite private, because when I tried to stalk you this week, there's actually really not that much about you. In fact, your website for the Prestwick Place actually doesn't even have you guys on the site. And I'm so curious about this because I think it would be really obvious to assume that you would leverage that for sales, and you're not. And I want to know, like, why? What's the reasoning for this for you?
Because at the end of the day, the family, the private side, all of that stuff, that's the biggest currency that we could use, right? So I could leverage that and I could get 100 news articles and media things and podcasts and everything jumping on it because it's quite juicy, it's quite good, it would convert well on Instagram, it's nice to see. But I don't want to take a bite of that apple. I don't want to subscribe to that. It's a freestanding business that doesn't require me selling my soul, my kids' soul, pictures. You know, I just don't want to subscribe to building a brand like that. And it's just not my thing. I like to be private. I'm a very private person.
And if I was in love with you 20 minutes ago, I'm more in love with you now than I was then, because kudos to you. And I want listeners to be really clear about what Beck just shared with us. I think, you know, there's one thing about privacy. And of course, most of our listeners don't have the famous husband to even have to make a decision about this. But we all have to make a decision at some point about we all are faced with a decision at some point about do we or don't we, and at what my value set here, like what is more important to me as a family. Sure, you might do double the sales if you guys splashed yourselves everywhere like other famous people in Australia might do.
But that requires more.
It does.
More first days at school, more like water births, more birthdays. Like, fuck no, I'm not sharing any of that with you. I'm not going to share my life, and we've got a wonderful life. I don't want to contribute to poor mental health as well, because we go on to Instagram when we're feeling shit or to share something to make other people feel shit. I don't want to show you my 25 Birkins and my brand new Lamborghini. I don't want to share that with you. And I don't want to contribute. Like, sorry, I don't want to. And you don't need to know that. If you're my friend, you will know about it. But until that point, I think it's off limits, and we should respect our own boundaries.
That makes you a very, very rare unicorn in the world, Beck, because I think that most people almost get a sense of joy out of rubbing that in for everybody else, or at least feeling elevated amongst others. And I would say more than anything, that makes you humble and have your values screwed on in the right place. And certainly sounds like your kids are super lucky to have you and Lockie as parents, because you value your family more than you value leveraging that kind of famousness. So kudos to you, girlfriend.
Thank you. I think it's a lot to do with social media, though, and having been in the system for so long and seeing so much. And it doesn't make me want that life. Like, I don't want to have my kids on Instagram. I don't want them to sell a product. I don't want them to do a collab. I don't want to use them or my husband or my house. None of it. I don't need it. Our life is great, and I don't need to rub it into anyone else's face that could be struggling. I just don't want to contribute like that. So
tell us about what it's like to work with your husband. And I don't mean like the AFL player. I mean, Lockie, your husband. Like, what have you learned about having to work with a domestic partner in a business?
Look, I know no different. I've only ever been self-employed, and then having COVID hit and then have him come into the business a couple of years ago, it actually was great. He allows me to be me, and I'm sort of allowed to be more me because I don't have to filter myself so much to staff. He can do that for me. And I can just go through him, and he takes care of some of the things that I wouldn't normally trust with an outsider. So I think it's really good, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's hard. And if anyone's thinking about doing it, try it. If it doesn't work, fine. Great. It doesn't work because it's not for everyone. And I don't want anyone to think that everyone can do it, because you just can't. It's only a certain type of people can get this done.
Now, I watched a reel this morning on your socials somewhere where you talked about financial literacy, and I'm pretty sure you said something along the lines of cash is everything. And I want to ask you about bootstrapping your businesses, because I think in that reel you were talking about you've never had a credit card, you don't believe in debt. Like, tell me about your approach to this, because that's probably also a little different than a lot of other approaches by founders.
I have just had a very healthy relationship with money. I've never started the business to make X amount of dollars. I've never wanted that money. Like, I didn't exit for cash. I understand what my means are. I live within my means. If there's something that I can't afford today, I'm not going to buy it today. I might be able to afford it tomorrow. But I've never had a personal credit card. Huge on cash. Big cash lady. And I never overextend in the business, ever. I've always got my finger on the pulse with everything. So if there's anything that I need to know, I will learn how to do it so I can instruct someone to do it. I've never placed any element of any business in the hands of someone else, not the social media, not the marketing, not the newsletters, none of it. It's all in-house that I can control.
And so I know you have a team of 8 at the moment. What kind of team have you gathered around you to help you make the business work?
I've got administration team, social media team. I've got jewelers. I've got people helping with dispatch. And together we just all work. So we all know what we're all doing, and it just flows like that. So it's not like cubicles of minions. Like, we're all just doing it.
Got the shared purpose and vision for your business.
Yeah.
I love that. I do a little thing on our podcast where I ask 5 fast questions, and it's about giving us a snap answer.
Go for it.
What's one word to describe you that would surprise people?
Tenacious.
Love that. What's one word to describe running a business?
Fucked.
What's the first thing you do when you feel stuck?
Oh, what is it? Probably complain.
Pretty sure mine's eat chocolate, so we can go with,
Okay. I'll tell my husband about it. I'll tell my husband.
Yes, there you go. Complain to husband. Okay.
Yeah.
What's a brand you're obsessed with right now?
I love Jack and Jack. Do you know them?
No, what did Jack and Jack do?
Jack and Jack, Aussie brand, really great cashmere, just really good basics. I've loved them for years, but I just keep on going back.
That's epic. And what's the biggest business lesson that you have to share with our listeners in one sentence?
I would say don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in what other people are doing. If another brand is rebranding, don't get caught up in why they're rebranding. If they've opened another store, don't get caught up in what their finances must look like. If they're doing, just don't get caught up in anything that anyone else is doing.
No imposter syndrome.
No.
I love that. Beck, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today. I look forward to a hug in real life somewhere soon.
I know. Yes, thank you so much. I loved it.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of She Talks. I hope today's conversation sparked ideas, gave you strategies you can put into action, and reminded you that you're never alone on this journey. If you loved this episode, head over to shecom.co for today's show notes, exclusive freebies, and special offers from our sponsors. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you never miss a future episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep building, and most importantly, keep talking.